Hi, it's Alexis Hasselberger, time management and productivity coach. Are you a time blocking skeptic? Maybe you've tried it before, but you can just never stick to those time blocks. Well, if that's you, I want to share with you 6 different reasons that time blocking might not be working as well for you as it could. So the first one is that your time blocks are just not specific enough. So this is something I see all the time with my clients. They put time blocks on their calendar that say things like focus work or deep work or strategy. And then you get to that section on your calendar and it says focus work. And you think, what the heck am I supposed to focus on? What was I thinking here? And so we just blow right past it because there's something else that's more immediate, that's more specific, that's right in front of us. Somebody's asking for something. There's that email that needs to be returned. So one of the things that you can do is to make your time blocks really specific so that when you get there, you have no question at all about what you are supposed to be doing. So maybe that's that you need to do the final draft of a certain report. Maybe it's that you're going to be, doing 2 sections of some kind of content that you're putting together. Whatever it is, be very specific about what it is. Now, the second thing is that you're time blocking in a vacuum. So you've put some time blocks on your calendar for specific items, but you haven't really looked at the full context of what's on your plate for that week or for that day. And so you put these time blocks on there, but then actually something that's more important or more urgent comes up and you do that instead. Then we feel bad because we've blown through this time block that we set aside, but because we didn't time block with the context of everything we have to do, the time block itself wasn't really the right priority. So maybe we should have time blocked something else. So if you are thinking about time blocking, you want to actually be doing it within the full context of what's on your task list so that you know that you're time blocking the right things. Now, the third thing that I often hear is that I didn't time block the right amount of time for something, right? So I underestimated how much time it would take. And this is just human nature. We are all terrible at just estimating time. In fact, I wrote a whole article and I did a video about how bad we are at time estimation and what we can do about that just a few weeks ago. That being said, if you are chronically underestimating the time that something will take, just add more time. So give yourself more time than you think you're going to need. Trust me, it is always going to be so much better. It's going to feel so much better if you finish early and then you can pull some task from the future that you were planning to do tomorrow and you do that today. That's going to feel way better than rushing because you didn't plan enough time for yourself. Now, the fourth thing here is that you've overcommitted, right? So you have set up time blocks, maybe they're specific, etc., but you actually have overcommitted and you do not have enough time to do all the things that you said you were going to do. And so this is one where we really need to think about how do we time block in a more timely way. So one way that I do this is as soon as I commit to something, especially something that's going to take a lot of time, I time block out that on my calendar. Am I going to know exactly when? Am I going to know exactly how much time? No, I'm going to make a best guess. I'm going to estimate, a little bit more time than I think I need. But as soon as I've committed to something, say I've committed to creating a new workshop for a client, I am going to block a significant amount of time on my calendar to make sure that I have time to do the work. And what that also does is when I look at my calendar and other people are asking me for things or I'm thinking about taking on other projects, I'm able to more accurately assess whether I actually have time for that based on what I've already committed to. So if you are constantly saying yes to things you don't actually have time for, getting these time blocks on the calendar can really help you be more realistic about how much you actually can commit to before you say yes. Now, fifth, we didn't build in any buffer. So maybe you're time blocking, maybe your time blocks are specific, maybe you're not overcommitting and all these things, and that's great. But you are time blocking from 9 to 5 p.m. There's no breaks in there. You don't have time to pee. You don't have time to eat anything. You don't have time for the unexpected stuff that just comes up, right? We don't know what's unexpected and when what will be unanticipated, but we can anticipate the fact that there's going to be things that come up that we're going to have to do, we're going to have to attend to, and we won't have known about them in advance, right? And so we can't plan for them. And so this is different depending on different jobs. Some jobs have a lot of this, some jobs have very little of this, but take stock at how much of your day is devoted to things that you couldn't have known about before, right? How much of your day is devoted to those unanticipated, those little emergencies, et cetera, because you're going to want to build that into your buffer. Otherwise, it's going to be unrealistic. And the last thing that I find is a real big problem when people are trying to time block is that we didn't block any time for email or Slack. And so this is actually, something that plagues a lot of us, right? We think of email, we think of messaging, Slack as something that's just going to happen in the background, that somehow we're going to get it all done without accounting for it, right? We're going to be on top of our email without actually spending any time dealing with it or just in between. So what I find is that we actually do need to take stock of how much time does that take us during the day? How much time do we need to process our messages, to process our email, to process Slack, so that we can stay on top of that? Now, I don't know, about everybody. Some people get dozens of emails a day. Some people get just a few. What I find is a good place to start is by blocking off, a couple of 30 to 45-minute blocks during your day where you're going to be processing your messaging. So where you're going to be processing email, you're going to be processing Slack messages or whatever messaging you use, and making sure that you're using the one-touch rule. And just as a quick reminder, the one-touch rule is that there are only 3 things you can ever do with any sort of incoming message. The first one is to just archive it because you didn't need to do anything with it. It was just an FYI, no action required, right? Just get it out of your inbox. The second thing is that you can respond immediately. You have the answer, whether or not you have the right words, you have the answer. So just respond immediately if you have it. And then the third thing is where we get tripped up, and that's that we actually can't respond in full right now because it's a task or a project that somebody's asking us to do, and we don't have time to do it today. Or, we need to get it approved by somebody, or we need to do some research, or for whatever reason, we can't answer in full right now. And that's okay too. What we want to do when we're processing is simply respond to the person to let them know you got their message so that they don't send you more email in a couple of days saying, hey, did you get that message that I sent you the other day? And then add it to your task list so you can be processed with all the other stuff that you have to do, right? So work that comes in via messaging or emailing is not categorically different than other types of work. We just need to make sure that it gets prioritized in with the other work and that you can then time block it. So if you have had trouble time blocking in the past, did any of those resonate with you? What are you doing? Are you doing any of those things that I mentioned? If so, you might want to give time blocking another try. And you can go ahead and try to combat it with one of those things that I mentioned above. So if you have tried this in the past, or if you're excited to try it again, then comment down below. I want to hear about it.